What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necroc Nick, and once again, the fine people at Heavy Metallurgy, both Alan and Marty, have come up with the metal tag for 2025. Once again, they've come up with another killer batch of questions, carrying on the torch for Rock Scout, which he did a great job as well. And yeah, I'm going to get right down to these, but first I'm going to urge you guys to go check out Heavy Metallurgy. Go subscribe to their channel. They do amazing retrospectives, reviews, all sorts of killer stuff. Marty and Alan are just awesome dudes in general, and I love their content. But yeah, let's just get right down to this with number one. Hype. Name a release you're eagerly anticipating in 2025. And I went with one that's still kind of perspective. Like, I've heard rumblings that this may actually be happening and it might actually happen this year, but I'm going to go with Disincarnate. There have been rumblings out there that James Murphy and I believe the rest of the band, I don't know if it's entirely the original lineup from Dreams of the Carrion Kind, are getting back together and writing a very, very long-awaited follow-up to that album. Dreams of the Carrion Kind, I think, is one of the best one-and-done death metal albums ever. It is flat-out masterful, and that was our first retro review we ever did on this channel. And the prospect of a sequel to that album, I mean, I can't help but to be excited. Yeah, there's a lot of other ones out there, too, that I'm pretty excited about in terms of old bands coming back, but that one, I don't know, like, just because I thought it would never happen, is probably my most hyped one. Number two, show the 25th item, LP, CD, your choice. Obviously, it's going to be CD for me, in your collection. And since everything in my collection is alphabetized and in chronological order of release, that led me to Abomination with their self-titled album. This is an absolutely banging death thrash classic in my mind. Featuring Paul Speckman of Master fame. I absolutely love this album, and at some point I would like to do a retro review of Abomination because they only had a handful of releases. But yeah, this album absolutely smokes, and I'm glad that 25 didn't land on something much more embarrassing. But yeah, if you haven't checked out this album or this band in general, strongly recommend it. Number three, Overdue. Name an older band that you checked out for the first time in 2024 and loved. And I had to think about that one because there's been a fair amount of like older bands that I've caught up with. And initially I was going to say Riot, but I think I got Fire Down Below in 2023. So I couldn't really count that one. I've been getting Riot albums ever since. But one that I definitely got into this year, and it's mainly just this album so far, was Tigers of Pantang. With Spellbound. I slept on this band for a number of years. I always just kind of like thought of them as an also-ran in terms of like the old school new album scene, but I picked up this remaster, God, actually like a few months ago, and yeah, I dig the hell out of this. It's a little bit more on the poppy side, like there's a lot more like, I don't know, like kind of classic rock hooks, like just, you know, imagine like, you know, your classic new album sound, but mixed in with like, I would say almost like Cheap Tricks, sort of like power pop style in terms of hooks, and you get something pretty close to this. Now, from what I gather, this is regarded as probably their best album, and the fall off after here, they tried pulling a Def Leppard and it didn't work out as well. But I will say that this album in particular, catchy than hell, and I do want to check out at least some of the earlier stuff. I don't know how much beyond this album I'm going to check out. I don't know, I might just check it out just to see what it sounds like. I don't know, but I know that this was really solid and yeah, kind of long overdue. Number four, Feeding the Monkey, which for clarity, that is totally different than Flogging the Dolphin. How do you purchase most of your music? Local store, Bandcamp, specific online store, etc. And honestly, it's kind of a combination of those. I have at least 3 record stores here in my area, in the Toledo area, that I go hit up. One in particular is really good about getting all the new releases. I've known that dude for years now. But I also shop on Bandcamp occasionally too, and there are a number of distros that I hit up. Rotted Life, Caligari, Indie Merch, Night Shift, Iron Fortress as well. That's a really solid distro. I believe they're out of Indiana. Yeah, I find like a lot of avenues out there, but honestly, if I had to pick in terms of my favorite, I still love going to record stores and just kind of like thumbing through the releases and finding those like old school gems and new releases that I'm looking for. Like that is still a feeling that can't be replaced by just going to Bandcamp or, you know, going to a distro or even like searching on Metal Detector. That's still my preferred method. That might just be kind of a nostalgic thing because that's how I found so much stuff when I was younger. But yeah, You can't beat a record store, honestly. Record stores are just awesome, so go out there and support them. All right, number 5, Enigma. Show a heavy metal album that musically is hard to place in a heavy metal subgenre. And well, this one goes across the entire band, and the first thing I thought of was Kvelertak. I have no idea what to call this band. It is a blend of hardcore, I would say like classic rock, heavy metal, black metal, crust punk. It's all kind of like a homogenized thing in this band, and they just write absolutely catchy songs. Trying to narrow down this band to one specific genre is about as hard as trying to say their song titles because they're all in Norwegian. But I love every album from this band. I just picked this one because I had to think of like the first song that just got stuck in my head, and it might be 1985. There's just something so catchy about those damn riffs. But I could say that pretty much for any other albums. Every single album is just loaded with catchy riffs, clever harmonies, really cool transitions in style. They're just one of those bands where I just say Kvelertak is Kvelertak, and if you really want to know what they sound like, listen to them. And if you think you can narrow them down into one specific subgenre of metal that you think they firmly belong in, good luck, because it's going to be a lot harder than you think. Either way, they are awesome. I love this band, and I'm looking forward to future releases from them as well. Number 6, Eating Crow, and there's a little bit of irony with this one. Talk about an album you used to hate, but after years, it finally clicked, and you can't get enough of it. And, well, yeah, the irony is right on the cover. Catatonia, Brave, Murder Day. Now, when I initially got into Catatonia, it was with The Great Cold Distance, and then Night is the New Day, Viva Emptiness, that era of the band. And I fell in love with it. I'm still very much in love with those albums, and I'd still pick up a Catatonia album anytime they released it. Their last one was absolutely magnificent. But when I got this album, I initially didn't like it because it didn't sound anything like the Catatonia that I was already really used to. And for a while, I kind of just shelved it. But years later, and honestly, it kind of tied into me like really getting more into My Dying Bride and really getting more into Paradise Lost, I went back to this one and listened to it with some fresh ears and some fresh perspective, and honestly, this album is one of my favorites from Catatonia. In terms of a ranking, I don't know where it would land, but it would be probably higher up. I love the dreary atmosphere, the melancholic riffs. I love Michael Åkerfeldt's just insanely heavy growls in here, but it's almost like a death metal Cure album. I just love the vibe, the atmosphere. It's just a beautiful fucking album. Honestly, it's so good it makes me think back to when I first got it and just not liking it and just thinking, what the hell was my damn problem? Anyway, I love it now, unquestionably. But yeah, initially, it wasn't my thing because it was stupid, I guess. I don't know. It's an amazing album though. Number 7, Impulse. Show an album you blind bought in 2024. Okay, that would be a lot of things because I'm still kind of that person that just like looks at an album cover occasionally and is like, you know what, I'll get it because their logo's sick, the album art's sick. Why not? What label is it on? Oh, it's this label that I already like. Yeah, I'm just going to get it. And impulse control is something I struggle with when it comes down to music in general. So yeah, that could have been a lot of things. So narrowing it down to one thing was kind of hard. So I had to narrow it down to 2 things, but they're both by the same band. And it's Suffer Yourself. This is a Ukrainian death doom, funeral doom band. I picked this up when I was down in Florida. They had both albums there. I looked them up and it said funeral doom, death doom. I generally like that, so I just snagged both of them. And both of these albums, or rather EP and album, are awesome. Atmospheric, bleak as hell. You get like punishing death doom, kind of like comparable to like Hooded Menace, but also that big funeral doom sound that you get from like bands like Esoteric, Skepticism, Shape of Despair. It's heavy, it's lush. The opening track on this one in particular, Spit in the Chasm, is 20 minutes of just insanely suffocating, harrowing death doom. That song is just flat out amazing. Great riff work. In terms of my trip to Florida alone, I would say this is probably one of my favorite blind buys, and yeah, I look forward to checking out more by these guys in the future. So yeah, if you have not checked out Suffer Yourself, strongly recommend checking these guys out if you're a big funeral doom and death doom fan. Number 8, Collector Scum. That's 100% me. Show a title you own more than one pressing on the same format. And this one's kind of a recent addition, but I've been big on trying to find like OG presses of stuff if I can, even if I have a remaster. And that would be Asphyx The Rack. I just recently got this one, I'd say a few months ago. It just kind of came in a collection that, my buddy bought over at his record store. He set it aside for me because he's an awesome dude. And honestly, I think years earlier in 2015, I bought this same remaster from him when it came out. I love this album, so I have no issue owning 2 copies of it. I don't know if it's this one or Last One on Earth. That might be my favorite. I don't know. Asphyx just has a ton of killer albums. Like, honestly, most of their discography is really solid. But yeah, I couldn't pass up on owning an OG press of this. And, I mean, honestly, I'd probably come back and listen to this one a little bit more because I do like the slightly cleaned up production here. They did a really solid job on the remaster. But honestly, this still sounds awesome too. But yeah, I have no issue owning 2 copies of this, the same format. They're 2 different editions, whatever. I'm not trying to justify this to anyone. I'm just showing off the fact that I am collector scum. But yeah, that's my answer for this one, even though I have multiple other answers too. But yeah, this was a recent edition and I was super happy to find it. Number 9, show off a grail, something you really wanted, for clarification there, that you acquired in 2024. And this one also goes back to the Florida trip. I finally managed to find a copy of Cyanide's debut album, The Dying Truth. It was one of the few that I was missing. I think I'm just missing, maybe the 3rd album of theirs. Anyway, I've been trying to hunt down a copy of this album for a while now. This is the Deathgasm Records reissue. I'm not sure what year they did this one, but it also includes the Funeral demo and the Second Life demo from 90 and 91 on here. And yeah, this is just absolutely filthy American death doom, like very similar to Autopsy. This might have one of the most ridiculous snare sounds of any death doom album I've ever heard. But musically, this is slow, grimy, filthy. The riffs are absolutely rotten and putrid. I dig the hell out of this album. I was absolutely stoked when I found this. I may have even let out a very audible, "oh shit," when I found this. So yeah, this was definitely one of my holy grails this year. Probably the biggest one in terms of like all the other ones I found, which, I found a couple, but this was the one that really stood out to me. Number 10, a plea to the VCLT gods. What is a grail item you are on the hunt for? And it is still Disembowelment, Transcendence, and the Peripheral. I have been trying to find a copy of that album for years now. I would even settle for the 2005 compilation, which, that would be awesome too, because it has kind of everything they did. Honestly, it was probably right around the time that I got into Inverloch. I really dug that band. Then someone said, "oh yeah, that's the Disembowelment guys." And I was like, "ooh, who's Disembowelment?" And I listened to it, I was like, "oh my God, that's amazing." And then I went looking for it, it's like, fuck me, this might as well not exist because people want a lot of money for the CD. Honestly, I think it was Jacob over the Upside Down Church who actually managed to score a copy of the compilation. I was like, man, where was it? And then I went looking and then it wasn't there. So VCLT gods, maybe just, this one time, I'll be good this year. Just give me like a link to that one. You don't even need to send it to me. I'll buy it. But don't make it like, $150. That would be great. Number 11, Boomerang album. Show an album that no matter how many times you purge it from your collection, another copy returns to you. Okay, confession time, I don't do purges. I keep everything that I've bought, and yeah, that means there's definitely some clunkers in my collection and stuff that I don't go back to, but I keep them as pretty much reminders, and they're also kind of like footnotes in the whole musical journey and blah, blah, blah. And honestly, it kind of keeps me humble in a way because, if I ever started getting like this whole thing where, I listen to like the best music, I've always had exquisite taste and kind of getting into that elitism sort of mindset. I have shit to remind me that I definitely didn't always think that way. So those albums have a function. I will say that I have rebought albums, of course, because I've just worn them the fuck out. Like I've been through multiple copies of Faith No More Is the Real Thing, Soundgarden's Super Unknown. I've had to replace Cannibal Corpse albums, Obituary albums. That's just general maintenance. Like, if you hold up a CD to the light and it kind of shines through and makes it look like a fucking disco ball, it might be time to fucking put that one out to fucking pasture. So yeah, no purging here. All the shitty stuff is still there. Maybe I should do a video about all the shitty stuff I own. I don't know. That could be fun. But yeah, that's kind of my answer for this one. Number 12, Reunion. Name an artist that you lost track of over time, but reconnected with in 2024. And That one was kind of an easy one for me. It was Bortnagar. I had kind of drifted away from that band after Wintersorg left. Like, I just kind of lost track of them. And then we went over their last album, Fall, and oh my God, that album is majestic, beautiful, riffy. It's just flat out epic as hell. And honestly, the vocals were so good that I didn't miss Wintersorg. And then I found out that they had 2 other albums before that were also amazing, which I still need to get. Winter Thrice, I think. I think that's the one I'm missing. Either way, for a while, I was a really big Bortnagar fan, and, like Empiricism, and God, man, I can't remember all the damn album titles. But yeah, I own almost every Bortnagar album. I love their style. It's constantly evolving. They're great songwriters, and I kind of forgot that. And when Fall came out and we reviewed it, absolutely blown away. Honestly, that might have been one of my most jammed albums this year, but yeah. Bortnagar, I'm back. I'm back to being in love with you. I'm standing outside of your window with a boombox over my head, playing your songs and maybe wearing your t-shirt. I fucked up. I don't know why I left you behind. It won't happen again. Maybe. Number 13, Upstart. Name a band whose debut really impressed you. And they specified it didn't have to be a 2024 release. And this one kind of ties to a 2024 release, which this one did make John's year-end list. It was just outside of mine, and that was Glacial Tomb. I really liked that new album, but I ended up coming back and listening to their debut more, which this was a blind buy forever ago. And I flat out love this album, start to finish. This band has an awesome blend of death metal / death doom with black metal and sludge sort of like accents in there. Features the lead guitarist and harsh vocalist from Chemis. I can't think of his name right now, but I flat out love this album. And I kind of didn't want to do like a 2024 one because, there's like so many to go through, but there's a ton of bands that really could have answered this question because I have a ton of debut albums that just blew me away initially, pretty much ever since doing this channel. But because this one kind of tied to a 2024 release, I went with it. And absolutely love this album. If you've not checked out Glacial Tomb, this is honestly where I would start. I love the new album. I think it's really good. It just doesn't hit the same way this one does in particular. Mostly it's because I feel like they draw out the really good parts on here more so than they do on the new one. Either way, if you love death, doom, sludge, black metal, and you kind of want to hear it all blended together to make something absolutely disgustingly heavy but really catchy, check this album out for damn sure. Number 14, Influencer. Show a band / release that you bought in 2024 as a result of watching someone's YouTube channel. And God, I hate giving Jeff credit as much as he hates giving me credit for influencing him, vice versa. But, and this is just kind of under the wire because I bought this not long after Christmas and I still have yet to go over it in a collection update, but I got some Blue Das Nord. And largely in part that is due to Jeff constantly telling me, listen, you got to check out more of their stuff because I forget which album I got that I was just initially put off by, that I just never returned to the band up until we reviewed their last album, which, believe me, that was a nightmarish hellscape of a listen, but still somewhat intriguing. And Jeff said, oh, you got to check out the one before that one. And I found it at a local record store and I bought it. And again, I still have yet to go over it in a collection update. But I've liked what I've heard so far, which it's still strange, it's still dissonant and weird and just atmospheric, and it's Blue Das Nord. I guess I could just say that to the longtime fans. When it comes down to like the more dissonant death metal, black and death metal stuff, I have to have like a balance of atmosphere and like some clever riff work and songwriting. And I'm finding more of that on this one than I did on the last one. So Jeff, over at Gas Masks and Hand Grenades, for anyone that's not clear, I'm going to give you some credit here. So far, this has been a really interesting listen, and this is your fault, I guess. That makes it sound less like it's a glowing review. There, you get your credit, damn it. No, seriously, this has been a really interesting listen so far, so thank you, Jeff. Number 15, Don't Judge a Book by Its Cover. Show a great album with bad cover art. And immediately what I thought of was one, unfortunately, that I don't own because it's hard to forget this album cover. Randy, Alan, showed this off in a stream we did forever ago about bad art, and I'm putting up this art so you can just see how gloriously bad it is. First off, I mean, the band's called Randy, and then they have this hulked out mutant Brussels sprout human as their mascot. The only thing that might be even better than this is if you actually look at a picture of the band, they legit look like they're all named Randy. Like legit, they all look like a dude I would have given like, you know, $15 to go in and get me like a case of Natty Daddies for like a party or something like that when I was a teenager. But since I don't own that album because it is super rare, I had to go with Monstrosity's Millennium. I love Monstrosity. Every album. This album cover is complete dog shit though. This is a Windows 95 screensaver posing as an album cover. And the more I look at this album cover, I just wonder why. Like, what were the, you know, circumstances where this one won out over literally anything else? Like, did they have a buddy who really wasn't good at graphic design come by and, you know, maybe guilt trip them into taking this? Like, yeah, man, I stayed up all night working on this and, you know, I would have had it done sooner, but, you know, the divorce is going really, really bad and my dog died. I got a flat tire on the way here, but I stayed up all night working on this for you, and here you go. And they were like, man, that's a thing you did, isn't it? That is legit the only scenario where I could see a picture of CGI'd cosmic Easter eggs in a backdrop that's probably from Mortal Kombat 1 could win out over anything. Like a black cover with the band's logo on it probably would have been better than this. But the album itself is awesome. Monstrosity I still think is like one of the best bands in the entire Florida death metal scene. All their albums are amazing, but this album cover is just fucking awful. And strangely enough, this was the first Monstrosity album I ever got, and believe me, I didn't buy it based on the cover. I bought it based on the fact that I knew who the band was and I was excited to finally get a Monstrosity album. But yeah, album's fantastic. Every single song in here whoops ass, riffs galore. Lee Harrison's drum work is absolutely insane. But yeah, one of the worst fucking album covers ever, I think, especially at least in like death metal across the board. I can't think of a worse one off the top of my head right now. Not saying they don't exist, but as of right now, I just can't think of one. Number 16, Rembrandt. Show an album cover created by one of your favorite artists. And yeah, I'm pretty predictable. It's Dan Seagrave, but I didn't pick Left Hand Path this time. I thought about it. I was actually really close to just picking it, but I went with Dismember's Like an Ever-Flowing Stream because I love this piece of album art as well. I love most things by Dan Seagrave. Like some of the earlier stuff, yeah, all right, like the Metal Duck ones and the Lawnmower Death ones are a little hokey, but when he really hit his stride, especially around like Left Hand Path, Ultra's Madness, and this gem, his art just started to pop. I love all the intense detail on here. Like if you get like the good up close look at it, which is probably over my shoulder right now, there's a lot of really cool elements to this art. It looks evil as hell. Like honestly, if I didn't already know about this band, you know, when I picked this up, I might have just bought it based on the cover art. Like with an album cover this awesome, I feel like the chances of the contents being just as awesome were pretty damn good. And yeah, definitely right. This is an absolute classic. Like between this and Left Hand Path, it's like 1A and 1B. Left Hand Path wins just by like a hair, honestly. Every single song on this album whoops ass, and yeah, this album art is absolutely amazing, but that honestly is par for the course with Dan Seagrave in my mind. So yeah, it was kind of an obvious one for me, but yeah, Dan Seagrave he's just been awesome for so damn long, so yeah, I had to throw in this one. Number 17, name an album that you would like to see reissued on vinyl or CD. Now this one comes with the stipulation it would also have to be remixed and remastered. And oh look, Dan Seagrave again, awesome artwork. Suffocation, Breeding the Spawn. I love this album. I think the music is amazing. The production, however, is complete dog shit. That is the only thing holding this album back. This band has slowly been re-recording every single song from this on different albums ever since this one. And I would just like a remixed and remastered, reissued version of this so I can thoroughly enjoy how it should have sounded. Musically, this is one of my favorite Suffocation albums, honestly. Marital Decimation and the title track alone are so damn good. But yeah, every song in here whoops ass. It's just this god-awful, muddy production. You can barely hear anything in here. The drums sound terrible, which is a injustice to Mike Smith. And, you know, Terrence's riff work generally shines in here. And here you can't hear all the intricacies because it's just muddier than fuck. So yeah, in terms of a reissue on CD, obviously for me, yes, this one. But also, again, remaster it, remix it, make it sound like, you know, it should have sounded right from the rip. That is the only thing that has ever held this album back from being, you know, maybe higher on a lot of people's lists for just essential 90s death metal. Number 18, name an album from a genre you typically don't listen to much. And I'm going to do more than just name it, I'm just going to show it. Voodoo Glow Skulls. This is their album Ferme. I'm not the biggest ska fan. I used to be bigger into it. Like, I still like some Less Than Jake and shit like that. Maybe like a little bit of Operation Ivy every now and then. But in terms of like coming back to it, it's pretty damn rare. But I still enjoy this band. I don't know. They're a little bit rowdier and punkier and occasionally a little bit heavier. But yeah, I'm typically not a big ska fan. In fact, there's a good chunk of those bands I kind of make fun of. I do love Real Big Fish's cover of Take On Me, though. I do think that's really well done and pretty hilarious. Ska to me is like more of a novelty, honestly, but occasionally it's fun. But yeah, I'm not a big ska fan, but you know, some of those albums are pretty fun. Number 19, what band do you hope to see live in 2025? And I feel like I've repeated this answer so many damn times in these. It's still Faith No More. I still haven't got my chance. You know, the pandemic kind of killed my chance to see them with, I think it was Korn. I don't know if I would have stayed for Korn, but I would have 100% stayed for Faith No More because they've been one of my favorite bands forever. I know that after the pandemic, Mike Patton was not feeling up for touring, and he, you know, really wanted to take like a good mental health break, which I totally understand. I would just love to see Faith No More. It's been now, I mean, technically if we're going by years, 10 years since the last album, and I love Sol Invictus. So, you know, maybe we get a new album too, and then they do some touring. I don't know. That's just like probably one of the biggest bucket list bands for me. I was going to say Helmet, but they're doing a tour where they're playing all of Betty. I might go check that one out, but Faith No More, that's the one I really want to see this year. If it happens, that'd be amazing. If not, and you ask a variance of this same question next year, guess what? The answer will still be Faith No More. And finally, number 20. In closing, tell your viewers about 2 new to you YouTube channels you discovered in 2024. Or just shout out 2 YouTube channels you enjoy. Well, there's a lot of YouTube channels I enjoy, and most of them have been ones I've been watching and even collaborating with for years now. But in terms of 2 newer ones, I'm going to go with Just Another Heavy Metal Maniac. He has a really solid channel where he does reviews, rankings. I like the fact that he seems very passionate about his music, and he's a really solid dude, frequently comments. And we have some good discussions in the comments too. He shows up in our live streams, really nice dude. And the other one is Furious Metal, who's another reviewer, and again, another guy that I think is just very passionate about the music he loves. Either way, go check out both of them. I'm going to tag them both down here, and I might just like double down and leave a link to their channel, but I mean, as far as like the other guys, I mean, obviously, you know, Metal Meltdown, Dreadful Minutes, and Heavy Art Talk, Gas Mask and Hand Grenades, Thrash Maniac 99. There's a ton of awesome channels out there. And honestly, I'd say go check them all out. Like, you know, kind of go down the rabbit hole, like find a particular album you like and just see who all reviewed it and check out their channels, see what their content's all about. And that will do it for the 2025 Metal Tag. This was another solid batch of questions. Some of these were particularly hard to answer too. I like ones that are a little bit challenging. And I only feel like I had to admit to a small amount of embarrassing stuff here, so that's always good. But yeah, as I said in the beginning, definitely go check out Heavy Metallurgy. Go give them a subscribe, check out their content. They're awesome as well. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We also have memberships now. They're only 99 cents, and our perk is doing a members only live stream, which we will be doing one at some point this month. We're gonna maybe throw out like a post or something like that to think of a subject to actually talk about this time. We want to make those streams stand out a little bit more from our usual just, you know, hanging around and bullshitting streams. We also still have our dumb emojis. I'm eventually going to add some more. I just got to think of So I don't want to have to like put in more AI art, but I'm probably going to have to, at least to make something stupid that I would never want anyone to actually draw for me. But yeah, this is the new way to support the channel as we're trying to get away from Patreon. We also still have our store too with our hats and shirts that'll be linked down below. And again, if you are interested in becoming a member, the join button is right down below. And of course, thank you guys for every bit of support you guys have given us. We currently have a giveaway going on for when we eventually hit 20,000 subscribers. We are less than 100 away from that. If you have not commented on that video, it is playing automatically on our channel. As you go there, just leave a comment and you are entered. And yeah, we are looking to overload you guys with more content this year, more reviews, more discussions, album rankings, collection updates, all the usual stuff, of course. And you know, if I'm feeling squirrely about talking about some other subject matter, who knows, I might do that too. But either way, you guys absolutely rule. The amount of support you guys have given us over the years has been staggering, and yeah, we appreciate the hell out of it. So one more big thank you, because you guys rule, and we will catch you later.